At this juncture, may I call on Dr. Napoleon K. Manilio to introduce the next guest.
Thank you very much, NewFielders, and welcome to the next session. Um, it is with pride and honor for me to introduce to you our next guest. His name is Dr. Amado A. Angeles. Dr. Amado A. Angeles is the director of the Dairy Training and Research Institute, or DTRI, College of Agriculture and Food Science, University of the Philippines, Los Baños. He has held this position since 2017. He is also an associate professor at the Institute of Animal Science, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, under the Animal Nutrition Division. He has published numerous articles and scholarly papers in animal nutrition, feed evaluation, and applied animal biotechnology. Also, he has been a speaker in various professional, technical, and scientific conferences and participated in several dairy research and extension activities. Furthermore, he is a member of various professional organizations such as the American Chemical Society, the Philippine Society of Animal Science, and Philippine Society of Animal Nutritionists, to name just a few. He recently received the University of the Philippines Scientist One recognition for 2019 and 2021. He finished his bachelor's degree at the University of the Philippines on animal science, specializing in ruminant nutrition. His master's of science in biochemistry, uh, major field is biochemistry and minor field is animal science at the University of the Philippines at Los Baños, and his PhD degree in biochemistry also at the University of the Philippines in Los Baños. He did his postdoctoral training at the University of Illinois at Chicago. My dear students, boys and girls, what an honor for all of us to have another hero of science, another model of science for us to emulate and learn from. And so, a very good friend of science, Dr. Amado A. Angeles. Let's all welcome him, children.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Nap, for that introduction. Can you see me and hear me clearly? Okay. So thank you for that kind introduction. I'm deeply honored to present something about animal science to our future generation. I hope I'll be able to entice the next generation to go into animal farming or maybe in agriculture in general. So again, thank you for the school for inviting me to present something about this topic to the students. Okay, so let me share my screen. All right. So the presentation that I'm going to share to you kids today is about how animal science is helping to feed the world. And so in our institution, the University of the Philippines at Los Baños, we have different colleges, we have different units that teach, that extend help to the farmers, that do research in different aspects of agriculture and other allied industries. So if you can see the logo here is the logo of the University of the Philippines. The next logo on the right, upper right, is the logo of the College of Agriculture and Food Science. There are units in our college that take care of, for example, crop science, the science of raising or the science of taking care of corn plants, rice plants, the science of taking care of coconut and other agricultural products. And so there are also groups that are concerned with animal production, meaning how to take care of chicken, the chicken that produce meat, that we have, what we have in Jollibee or in McDo. No, there's science behind animal production. We have also a group that is looking into the diseases of these particular farm animals. So, and then the third logo on your screen is the logo of our institution. We call it the Dairy Training and Research Institute, or D3. Okay, so our unit is concerned about raising animals that produce milk, and we know that everyone needs to drink milk in order for us to grow and develop properly. So as we grow, we have to, or we need to have the kind of foods that our body will need for us to be better person and better citizen of the Philippines. So again, the title is How is Animal Science Helping to Feed the World? Okay, so let me just first define what animal science is. Okay, animal science, we call it the science, or sometimes we need to have an art, no? It is a science and art, and of course, business of producing domestic animal species, meaning these are domesticated, these are tamed animals, and we have to take care of them in order for us to produce or to get something out of them in a sustainable way. Meaning that during our course of taking care of them, we have to consider them as a business. Otherwise, we will not be able to make it sustainable over the long years of our operation. So the farm animals, domestic animal species, may include the following. We have what we call cattle that are intended for meat production. We call them beef cattle. We have dairy cattle. These are the type of cattle that produce more milk than more than they gain in weight, no? In comparison with those that produce milk. And of course, we have horses. Some areas may consume horse meat, but basically horses are used for taking care animals that are reared in pasture area, in grazing areas. And you know, we have poultry and poultry species. We have those that produce eggs, those that are producing meat. For example, what we call it broilers. We have chicken, broiler chickens. We have broiler turkey. Okay, and then we have, of course, swine. So in the picture, you have here pictures of animals that are commonly raised and are domesticated. Now, let me just emphasize what I mentioned about doing animal science, doing animal raising in a sustainable way. And so that is clearly indicated in our logo. Now, as you can see, there is a balance here that you have to do. No? And in the picture, we have a picture of a dairy cattle. A dairy cattle is the one that produces more milk. No? As I've said, more milk than the value of their gain in weight. Okay, so in the picture, there is a portion that indicates the input, wherein the animals are they need to eat. So this is a picture of a forage, a plant that they need to eat, and this one is a picture of a feeding system, a concentrate feeds that they need to eat regularly for them to produce more milk for us. On the other side is actually the product. After they consume the feeds, water, and other inputs in the farm, they have to produce milk in order for us to again buy new inputs, to buy them again feeds, to buy them vitamins, to pay the farm workers that are taking care of them, and so on and so forth. So the figure will tell us something about sustainability of animal production. And so if you are to engage in the business in animal science, in animal production, you have to think of ways to make it in a way profitable in the process of producing the right amount of, say, milk, right amount of meat that are safe and nutritious for all of us. So I'll explain a little bit more of that aspect later. Okay, so let me encourage you to please match the picture if you're still remember some of lessons in your class. So the first picture is a picture of a broiler chicken. What do you think is the product of the broiler chicken in the picture? You have a picture of egg, a picture of fried chicken.
Fried chicken meat.
Yeah, that's correct. It's fried chicken. So okay, the picture is quite the chicken is quite big, and so it is intended for meat. Now this one is a picture of what we call layer chicken, and so they produce egg rather than producing more meat. So you don't see that are
Quail egg.
that are offered in McDonald's or in Jollibee. So basically, you have a particular type of chicken that will produce a particular product. Now this picture used to be a wild poultry, no, but because of domestication, they are now very efficient in producing egg for us. And we know this, we call it quail or pugo. Pugo, if you know the term pugo.
That's its egg.
Yes, it lays egg, and the picture of the egg is something like this. So you have spotted eggs, and they're small and about 1/4 of the size of a regular chicken layer. Now, do you know what this is? This is a picture of what we call balut. Balut is, we call it incubated duck eggs. And this picture is a picture of a flock of duck that is reared domestically. They used to be wild animals, but because of domestication, they are now efficiently producing egg, not only for balut, but we use the balut duck egg for making what we call leche plan and other products. We use we generally choose balut egg for producing itlog na pula, or the eggs, the salted eggs that are usually colored in red. So have you tasted salted eggs or itlog na pula? No, not yet. Maybe you should ask your mom or your dad.
Pink egg.
Okay. Okay, so let me proceed.
That's balut.
These are these are the animals that produce the eggs, and of course we can cook something out of the eggs that they produce, and of course we consider that these animal products are nutritious and of course needed by our body. Now the next slide is again is a picture of a goat. This is a dairy type cattle, meaning type of cattle that produce more milk than meat. And then this is a picture of what we call carabao, or more popularly known as buffalo. So this is a picture of what? This is sheep. Okay. And so what do you think is the product of that you can get out of the sheep?
Wool.
Wool. All right. All right. So you can produce
Clothes.
to make your sweatshirt. And then of course, some type of sheep can also produce milk. They can also produce cheeses, different types of cheeses. In the same way that goats, dairy cattle or dairy buffalo are also producing milk that are eventually processed to produce different types of cheeses. Okay, and of course, all of them produce meat, but there are special type of sheep, special type of buffalo, maybe special type of goats or cattle that
They
are
use,
dedicated for the
they
production
use
because
the
they grow
frozen
faster in comparison with their higher milk production. All right. Okay. So just to explain a little bit, why are we into? I'm sorry. So we drag this down. So just to explain, why are animal raised for food? Okay. So this is a picture of the sun, and you know that plants will require the sun to in order for them to grow, and that is the process. What do you call that process? Wherein the plants are exposed to the sun in order for them to grow and produce food.
photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis. All right. So photosynthesis is necessary for the plant to grow and eventually for them to produce seeds. Okay. So we can eat the fruit of the plants. For example, in this case, we have the corn ears. We can boil it, we can process it, and utilize it as a human food. But after removing the ears or the corn seed, can we utilize the what we call the rest of the plant? Can you cook that and then eat? Can we eat the rest of the plant other than the corn ears?
Yeah.
No, we cannot digest them. And so there should be a process wherein this byproduct of corn plantation, we call it byproduct because those are the things that we cannot utilize. So there should be some system by which you can convert that byproduct of plantation crops, we call it plantation crops, into something that is again after certain process will be utilized by us. And so my arrow here would like to tell you that yes, we can feed the corn plant other than the corn ears, which we can already consume, into milk or maybe meat. And those products, meat and milk, we can again consume them. Okay? So I would say that in general, cattle, buffalo, goats are very prolific in terms of their ability to utilize other feeds that we human cannot utilize. And then after they grow, they will produce milk, they will gain in weight, and then we will have the products that are nutritious for us to utilize. All right. Now in the next picture, I would say that you can identify other byproducts or other things that we cannot utilize that we can feed them in order for them to produce a product that we can utilize. For example, in Mindanao, in Davao, we have a big banana industry. We have big banana plantation. And so, assuming that these byproduct of banana plantation are safe for feed or for food for animals, then we can feed them to our cows, we can feed them to our buffaloes or our goats. In the same way, there are other products like the pulp of the citrus. This we cannot eat this, and we can feed them to our cows or buffalo, and then they will produce the essential product for us. So in some countries, although it's not very popular in the Philippines, we feed the peanut pulp, okay, or peanut coat. Okay, now why are animals raised for food? Why? Well, we have nutrients present in corn. We have also nutrients present in meat. Why do we have to feed the animals, or why do we need animals as a source of nutrients when in fact we can get nutrients from the plants? Both of them will contain proteins. Okay, so as you can see in my picture, I would like to emphasize that if you eat more protein coming from meat or food animals, there is a big chance of you to have better growth, or to be to have more nutritious food. And compared, if you are going to source your protein from corn, for example, there is a less chance of you growing at a higher rate. No? This is basically because the type of protein that we have in food animals are very close to the type of protein that we have in our body. Okay, so that is the basic reason. Of course, there should be some ways of regulating the amount of meat that you take in. There are recommendations and limits to the amount of protein that you take in from animals. Okay, so let me proceed. These are different farm types. Again, these are quails. So that there are several types of quails in the Philippines. We have what we call Japanese quails. We have what we call Taiwan quails, and they are basically differentiated by the color of their plumage or the feathers. They are very efficient. Almost every day they lay one egg. No, in a year, they probably lay about 340 days in a 365 days, or in 1 year. So they are very efficient to produce egg. And of course, in the process, you have to take care of them properly. You have to feed them properly. You have to provide additional source of nutrients. You have to provide the good housing condition. They should be taken care properly. You provide the proper light for them to feed on the feeds that you are offering to them. And then we have what we call duck layers. These are a type of duck that we have in the Philippines, a Pateros duck. These are brown plumage ducks, and so they are also very prolific. They lay eggs bigger than the chicken layer. Of course, quail will lay very small eggs. The comparison is that you have to take in about 4 chicken or quail eggs compared to eating only 1 chicken egg. So that they're fairly small compared to chicken eggs. Okay, so the last picture is the chicken layer. So these are the typical eggs that we consume daily. So very prolific. They are also resistant to diseases, to pests. So and then in the next set of pictures, we have what we call meat producing, meaning we raise them, we take care of them in order for us to produce meat. And of course, we have what we call pigs or swine, or we call it also hogs. Okay, and then we have the meat type cattle. This is a type of cattle that we see usually in the tropical countries. And as you can see, they have this big hump, the hump, and they have excess skin. These are organs. These are parts of the cattle that is necessary for them to thrive under very hot condition. So the hump part of the cattle will have very high moisture content, and so during very hot condition, very dry condition, they can use that part to draw water. And so just like what we see in the camel, no, you have the same characteristic. Now the excess skin here, they have a lot of sweat glands in order for them to sweat it out if there are excessive heat in the environment. So they have a way of adapting to the very stressful condition, in this case, very hot condition in the tropics. And of course, again, we have broilers. Broilers, these are very prolific in converting feeds or food into meat. 1 kilo of broiler, for example, in order for it to grow 1 kilo, they need to consume about 1.5 kilos of feeds. So that's how efficient they are now. We used to have what we call in the industry 45 days chicken, but now you can grow them as early as 27, 28 days. Okay. Now, how about rabbit? I know you love rabbit. Can we raise rabbit for meat, or would you prefer rabbit as a
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
But rabbits like yes. Maybe you can eat rabbit. You can eat rabbit because like rabbit food.
yes. In fact, the government, our
Meat
government
producing. Meat producing.
is now promoting rabbit raising. No, because I hope you heard something about the diseases that we have now. We have what we call African swine fever, avian influenza, and so on. And so there should be an alternative industries in order for us to maintain the amount of meat that we consume on a daily basis, for us to still be healthy. No? So rabbit is one of the industries that are now being promoted by the Bureau of Animal Industry. Okay, in some countries like France, these are delicacies. These are special, and they taste like chicken also. They have white meat, and so they are perceived to be healthy by different countries. Okay, so the next group is the milk producing group. These are the type of animals that are reared to produce more milk. We have cattle, we have carabao. We call it carabao in the Philippines, but when you say carabao in the US or in other countries, they do not know the word carabao. So they call it buffalo. Now we have goats, okay, goats, and of course we have sheep, type of sheep that also produce milk. And did you know that camel also produce milk?
No.
Okay, there are special type of camels that are producing camel milk, and this is one of the special products that they offer in East Asia. Okay, so they have what they call camel milk, and they are also nutritious. Okay, how about crocodile? Do you think we can farm crocodile? We can eat crocodile?
No.
Or crocodile will eat you?
Crocodile. Crocodile. Yes. Yes. Crocodile.
All right. There are
Alligator.
in Mindanao, I think in Davao, and there are also farms here in Luzon that are raising crocodiles.
Jungle.
Yes, they are using it for the manufacture of leather, shoes, or your belt. These are special type of animal products that are used as non-food. But of course, after removing the leather from the crocodile, then you can partly utilize some of the meat that they produce. So I'd like to just emphasize that we do not capture the crocodile from the wild. So they are reared in confinement. They are reproducing. They feed them. They reproduce, and then we take care of their offspring and then grow them. Of course, in animals, we would like to produce food out of them, but we should consider different aspects like animal welfare. We should provide the right amount of feed. We should provide them the right amount of space and so on. We should consider that they should be happy in the process of raising them. We should not stress them out. Otherwise, they may get sick, and so we have to treat them. Okay, so in animal science, in animal production, we want to make sure that in raising animals, we do not stress them and provide all the necessary condition for them to be more or less happy in the process. And if they are happy, then probably they produce products, milk and meat for us that are nutritious and of course at a high volume, meaning the quantity is high as we decide more meat from these farm animals. All right, so I think in the next pictures, I'm going to show you some of the videos that some of my colleagues here at the Institute of Animal Science and the Dairy Training and Research Institute, just trying to explain to you what we are doing, not only raising animals, but also trying to teach college and high school students, trying to help farmers. If there are farmers that may have problems in their operations, in their farms, then they call our attention, and then we go to their farms and then help them solve the problems that they have. So this is, I'm going to play the video. This is Dr. Lu. Okay, this is my colleague. His expertise is in chicken layer production, meaning he takes care of what we call our layer module in the farm. And so I was going to explain something about...
Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Noel Lumbo, Assistant Professor ng Animal Nutrition dito sa Institute of Animal Science, UP Los Baños. Andito tayo ngayon sa layer farm ng university at makikita ninyo na andito ako sa tabi ng mga manok na tinatawag ay single-combed white leghorn. Ang pangunahing produkto nila ay actually itlog. Hindi sila inaalagaan para sa karne. At ang itlog ang isa sa pinakamurang uri ng protina para sa atin. Isang magandang negosyo ang pag-aalaga ng white leghorns. Kasi araw-araw, pwede tayong makabenta ng itlog nito. Sana sa maikling video na to, may natutunan kayo sa pag-aalaga ng manok na para sa egg production. Maraming salamat po.
All right, thank you for that, Doc Noel. And so as you can see, what he emphasizes that in taking care of chicken layers, you have to feed them on a daily basis, provide the right amount of water, and of course, they will give you almost always a day, an egg a day. Okay. So the next video is my former student who now operates a quail farm, a pugo farm. Okay.
Morning,
So
I am Joseph Nubasero and welcome to LB Quail.
Okay, so the audio is quite not so good, but what he's trying to explain is that in quail farming, you have this type of housing system, no? Space is very small. So
On my screen.
Can you see the screen?
It's laggy.
It's a very cheap source of protein.
Can you see it?
You're right. Yeah.
150.
Oh, all right.
And then they will start their space requirement.
All right. So basically in this picture, okay, let me check. Okay, so what is actually being explained is that in quail farming, you have very small size or a very small space in order for you to operate a quail farm. And so this is a very small farm, but he takes care of 5,000 eggs of chicken quail layers. And so they produce an egg each day, and then somebody will pick up the egg from his farm, and then the eggs in the market or in hotels. And so you can see different equipment needed. You have the proper system for them to provide the right amount quality of water, the feeding troughs here where you put the feeds on a daily basis. And then of course, this area is used to collect all the eggs. No? So they have twice a day collection. If the quail will lay egg, the egg will roll, and then the laborers, the farm worker will collect the egg on a daily basis. Okay, so the next picture is a beef cattle farm. So this is our beef cattle. So these are our Brahman cattle. These are raised for meat. Okay, and then I'll show you this next video. We call it cattle wrestling. So this is one way. We're not hurting the cattle here. We're not hurting the calf. But basically what we do is catch them in order for us to be able to do necessary management practices or the things that they need. Okay, so in this case, we have to handle them. We have to wrestle. And then in this case, the calf here needs to be vaccinated. Okay, and so you have to train them properly in order for us to properly implement the general management we provide. These are just well, in the process, the animals are not that hurt. We just need to do the handling procedure for us to properly do the general management that we need to do them. Okay? Alright. So, in this next video, can you guess what they are doing?
Milking?
Milking? Are they milking? Okay, I'll just show you very quickly. But in animal science, we have what we call management techniques that we have to do something in the animals in order for them to be properly managed. So in this case, what we are doing is what we call rectal palpation. We put our hands inside the rectal cavity of the cow in order to examine what's happening inside the body of the animals. In this case, we want to make sure that they are healthy, and so what we're doing is to do rectal palpation. Okay, so I hope you're not yet taking your lunch. So pardon me for the video, but this is just a picture telling us that we have to do something that is off for some time in order for them to reproduce properly. Okay, so we have to access certain part of the cow. In this case, put our hands inside the rectal cavity and try to examine what is going on inside the cow. Okay, so I'll just show that picture very quickly. So in this next picture, so this is our colleague training one of our staff to do the same practice. Alright. So in this process, we want to make sure that the animal is healthy, their reproductive tract is healthy, they are at the right age for them to get pregnant, and so on. That is it, because some of you are maybe taking your lunch already. Okay, this is the last video picture of our team.
Magandang araw sa ating lahat. Ngayon, nandito tayo sa D3 Farm upang matuto ng paggagatas. Ngayon ay mag-uumpisa na kaming gumatas ngayong hapon. Dadali namin ang mga baka namin from milking pen to holding pen upang umpisaan na ang paggagatas. So, bago tayo maggatas, mahalaga rin na ating nuhugasan mabuti ang kanilang udder o teats. At mahalaga din na dapat nakasuot tayo ng proper uniform. Ngayon, pagkayaring linisin at tiyuin ang dede, ngayon kinabait na namin ang plaster upang higupin ang kanyang gatas. At ngayon ay mapupunta siya ngayon dito sa milking tank.
So these are milk clusters.
Mahalaga rin na ating i-sprayan ang disinfectant ang kanilang mga dede upang maiwasan natin ang pagpasok ng mga bakterya sa kanilang mga dede. At maiwasan din natin na magkaroon sila ng sakit na mastitis. Pagkatapos natin silang gatasan, muli natin silang ibabalik sa milking pen upang bigyan ng feeds. At pagkatapos natin bigyan sila ng feeds, muli natin silang bibigyan ng damo na may kahalong silage upang makapagbigay ulit sila ng magandang production bukas ng umaga. At pagkatapos naming harvestin ang gatas, dadali naman namin ngayon sa cold room kung saan upang hindi tumaas ang acidity ng gatas.
Okay, so in the process, you have to feed them properly. Train them because these animals are, well, they are routinary, meaning what they did yesterday, they will do the same today and for the rest of the days. So dairy cattle are quite smart because they know the time when they are required to eat. They will feel it necessary, or the time when it is necessary for them to be milked or to get the milk out of them. And then, of course, after milking, they will feel hungry. So it is necessary for them to be given the right amount and quality of feeds or food. Okay, of course, the food is composed of grasses, we call it forage. And then, of course, we supplement them with nutritious feeds, so concentrate feeds. All right. So the next picture.
Jacob.
What do you think the picture is, or the video is?
It's ducks.
These are
Or
ducks.
swans. So ducks.
Ducks. Okay. So these are domesticated ducks that are reared in rice paddies. So as you can see, the area where they feed is a rice area. It's a rice paddy that after harvesting the rice, they are plowed, and you will bring the ducks there to feed on snails or to feed on residual palay seeds. So,
In rice
they
paddy.
are allowed to roam around, to graze around, and in the afternoon they will be placed in a makeshift house where they are again supplemented with feeds. So the following morning at about 3, 4, or 5 a.m., you are going to collect eggs from that house. And so the eggs are now brought to a hatchery where they incubate the egg. So they have to heat the egg in order for it to develop and become the incubated egg, or what we call balut. Okay, so there are eggs that will not be incubated, or that are what we call infertile. They are not fertile, and so these types of eggs are used to make what we call salted eggs. Okay, so what do you think this is? So this is in the university. We also do research, and this is a type of cattle that we put a hole on its right on its left side to access what we call the rumen. Okay, so these are rumen cannulated cattle, where we use them as part of our research activities. We can access the rumen.
Hole number 3.
and for us to know whether some type of feeds are acceptable to the animals. So I'll pause the video and then proceed. Okay, so maybe that ends my presentation, and I'd like to leave you this very important take-home message. Agriculture is the only industry that will save the world in the next 50 years. Do you believe that? Because it is the only industry that produces food for all of us. And so I would like to join everyone. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and of course, with the proper guidance from the school and from your parents, maybe you will be encouraged to be an agriculturist someday, particularly animal scientist. Thank you very much, and have a great day ahead.
Thank you very much for an interesting and inspirational message or explanation, Dr. Amado A. Angeles. Now, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask our beloved guest speaker, Dr. Amado A. Angeles.
Here are the reminders for our Q&A. If you would like to say something, please do raise your hand or message us in the chat box so we can allow you to talk freely.
Please wait for us to call your name before you unmute yourself.
I know you're live.
Any question, guys? Any questions?
No more.
I have a question.
Yes.
Maybe no more questions.
All right. I saw somebody raising her hand. Yes, Miss Andy.
My question po is, can we eat all animals?
No, of course, not really all animals, but there are animals that will produce a good type of product. There are types, for example, there are types of cattle that may produce a type of meat that is more nutritious than other types of cattle. I would say that not all animals, because some animals cannot give you that amount of meat or maybe milk, and maybe not so nutritious and not so safe, no? Because in order for us to have safe food, then the way that we take care of them should also be acceptable, and so to be able to produce products that are safe and healthy for us.
So, Dr. Amado, Yuan from grade 5 has a question, and he asks, can we eat pigeon's meat and egg?
Can we eat what's it again? Can we eat what?
Pigeon's meat and egg.
Okay, meat and egg.
Pigeon's meat.
And now, sir?
Pigeons.
Pigeon. Yeah. Pigeon meat is a specialty type of meat. No? But we can eat the meat from pigeon. Usually, they are still young, no? Because if you are going to use or utilize the adult pigeon, maybe the meat is very tough, and so typically, what they have are younger pigeon, and these are delicacies that you can see in some of the restaurants. Yes, we can. Okay. Yes, I think Yusuf is raising his hand.
What if agriculture failed to save the world in the next 50 years?
Okay, when you say agriculture is the only industry that will feed the world, save, meaning I was supposed to say feed the world in the next 50 years, because when you say agriculture, this is the process of cultivating the land, planting something on them, and then in the case of farm animals, raising or planting grasses or maybe legumes to feed the animals, the farm animals. And so this is the only, I would say, this is the primary, the first industry that will produce food. And so for us to survive, we have to have a sustainable way of producing food. And the agriculture, when we say agri, this is making use of the soil in order for us to produce food. Okay?
Vince, Ethan has a question. How will you describe yourself as being an animal expert?
Oh, okay, that's a tough question. Well, I to be really an expert, you have to stay close with your animals. Do you get that? When you try to learn details about the animal themselves, then maybe you have to stay close with them. So you may learn some of the aspects of animal science by reading books or by reading materials in the internet, or maybe talking to your professor or teacher. But actually, the learning will happen when you are already in the farm. And so what in animal science, for you to become an expert, you have to really look at your animals on a day-to-day basis. You have to somehow understand or know what they are feeling, because they will not tell you something about they are hungry or not. They are very, very agreeable. If you ask, for example, your cow, are you hungry, or are you hungry, and then he or she will reply, oo nga, oo nga. And maybe if you ask your pigs, and then they just tell you oink oink, no, they will not tell you something. So the how you take care of them, actually your eyes will be able to help you understand. And so by being with your animals, then that is a good exercise to be an expert in your own field. Not only in the science of doing things in animal production, but of course the business side of animal production. All right. Thank you for that question.
Sir has a question, and his question is: if a cow is sick, can it still produce milk?
If the animal is sick, is that a question?
If a cow is sick, can it still produce milk?
Yes, they will. They will still produce milk, but of course, we have what we call animal doctors or farm veterinarians that will tell us whether the milk that is being produced by a sick cow is still edible, or we can still process it and we can still consume it. To some extent, if the cows are sick, then we give them some drugs or medicine. Now, in the process of giving them some medicine or drugs, some of the drug residues may be contained in the milk. And so, in most cases, if we are medicating or providing medicine to our milking cows, the milk that they produce on that particular medication periods are not recommended for consumption. Okay, so probably we just have to give the milk to the cubs, that for processing and eventually for human use. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Is there some animals that aren't like tested if you can eat or cannot eat the meat of the animal?
Yes. Well, we have it in the government a an office that is tasked to check whether meat that you produce on a particular batch of, for example, swine or broiler farm are good for consumption. So we have several tests that we can employ for us to determine whether the meat that we produce are safe or are good. So I hope that answers the question, or did I get the question right?
Okay, thank you for the answer
Yeah.
of that question. It's very useful to me.
Thank you.
Sean has a question. What animal is easy to raise?
Okay. Well, when we raise animals, the first consideration is what is the size of our land. Okay. So, and of course, in the process, you think also of the investment, meaning we need money, of course, to buy uh, to buy um, the stocks, the animal stocks. We need also money to put up our animal house or barn. So depending on the size of your area that you want to have your animal production, then that will dictate the type of farm animal that you're going to raise. Now, if you want to start small, then probably you can have you have a small area in your backyard, about maybe around 200 square meter. You may start with, say, native chicken. A native chicken is very, what we call, very hardy. They do not get sick that often. So you just have to feed them leftovers, assuming that your leftovers are still good. No? So you provide them with some additional leguminous crops that you can see in your backyard, so they can fairly utilize any plants. No, so you just have to offer it to them. Of course, in the process, you have to contain them in one area, and there should be a way of you managing the manure, because they produce manure. So you have to make it a point that there will be not much excessive manure in your animal production area. And so you have to integrate the process with, for example, I hope you know composting. You just have to collect the manure and put it in one area, and a part of your compost in your backyard, where you can utilize the animal manure or the compost of the animal manure for your other if you have a plots for vegetable farming, then you can utilize them as your source of organic fertilizer.
Amek has a question. Amek, can you
Mhm.
please unmute yourself?
Good afternoon. Here is my question. I have an uncle who raises organic chickens. How is the broiler chicken different from the organic chicken?
All right. Okay. So it's a tough question. When we say organic chicken, these are actually uh, organic chicken raising is basically not much associated with the chicken itself. No? When we say organic chicken, these are type of chickens that are raised in a system that do not use that much, for example, synthetic compounds. We call synthetic compounds. They are not fed with a type of crops that are fertilized with inorganic fertilizer. The crops are not sprayed with pesticides or chemical pesticides. The to some extent, the feeds do not contain antibiotics or maybe other additives that are produced synthetically. So there are a lot of qualification for you to say that you have organically grown your chicken. So basically, when you say organic production, you need to prepare your area or your system such that you will be utilizing more of inputs that are not synthetically produced. So meaning these are natural products that you can use, no? And probably the reason why organic production is being promoted because there are notions that these type of chickens may not have that much what we call chemical residues present in their meat. Okay, so broilers, on the other hand, are we can say that if you are taking care of animals in confinement, then the more that there are more synthetic products that you have to use, because if you put one more animals in one space, then the chances are the more diseases that will happen in your flock. And so you need to use more drugs that are synthetically produced, although there are some drugs that you can those ethnic drugs, that veterinary drugs that you can utilize that are considered to be organic in nature. But in broiler production, where you have a farm having, for example, at least 10,000 in a broiler house, then I would say that you cannot have a sustainable organic production system in that kind of broiler setup. Okay, so I'm assuming that your father or uncle will have that much land, no? Because of course the land that you use for organic production should be far from areas where you have, for example, it should not be close to a banana plantation that is spraying chemical pesticides. So that's one qualification. And the feeds that you produce in your farm should not be adulterated with chemicals that being sprayed in adjacent or close farms. So I hope that answers your question.
Hello, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can we eat wild animals? Some wild animals?
Well, wild animals are not permitted. No. Well, in the Philippines, we don't have certain law, no, that allows us to eat wild animals. So just don't try to eat wild animals, because we do not know what's the quality of meat that we can get out of them. We do not have control over the type of feed, the type of environment where they are growing, and so probably maybe just to make sure not get sick, then probably refrain from getting wild animals as food. And of course, depending on the wild animals, there are wild animals that are being protected. So, well, maybe we have to look into some policies or laws governing the use of or hunting, no, wild animals for food.
Okay.
Yes.
Which one?
Hello.
Yes.
We will only have 3 questions left.
All right.
Okay. Georgina, do you have a question?
If you put your hand inside the cow, how will you know the cow is sick or okay to eat?
Okay. Well, in one of the slide that I showed you, the method that we employ is what we call rectal palpation. So we put our hand inside the rectal cavity of the cow just to check whether, for example, if the cow is pregnant, determine whether the position of the calf or the developing fetus inside is okay, we would like to determine the age of the developing fetus inside the cow, the orientation of the calf is correct or not. And so we can also determine whether the animal is suited for reproduction, meaning they can reproduce or not. Otherwise, you don't have to take care of them for a longer periods if they will not reproduce. No? So you can assess whether there are abnormalities in the reproductive system. Well, it is seldom utilized as a tool or as a method to generally assess the health condition of the cow itself. So maybe there are diseases or abnormalities in the reproductive tract that can be assessed through the rectal palpation.
Okay, Liam, do you have a question?
Good afternoon, Dr. Dong Angeles. Can cell culture from the animals on the laboratories can be reliable for our food source?
For reliable for, can
Reliable for our food source.
cell culture? Okay, all right. So there are now interests in utilizing microorganism. I think you are talking about the use of microorganism as a possible source of nutrients. Yes, in animal science, we have what we call unicellular microorganism that we culture, we reproduce them, and use them as feed. Okay. Now, this what we call it probiotics, maybe, but there are also type of feeds that are basically source of nutrients and they do not have any non-nutrient effect on the animal itself, what we call non-nutrient effect. So, but for us, well, I do not know yet, other than the probiotics that we have for medical purposes. I know that we use microorganism on a daily basis to produce food, just like what we have in the production of bread, for example. So we have yeast. These are multicellular, very small microorganisms that are fungi that are used to improve the quality of bread, of course. So yes, microorganisms are also used to improve the quality of certain feeds. So we have what we call in animal science silage making. This is a process by which if you have an excessive grass during this month and you want to preserve it for the next months, coming months, then you can do ensiling. And in the process, you need to put microorganism for you to be able to produce what we call silage of better quality and of better acceptability to the animals, meaning they are tastier. The animal will eat more if you have a good quality silage that are usually prepared by putting microorganism in the silage material.
Thank you, Dr. Dong Angeles.
You're
Can I ask a
welcome.
question?
Yes, please.
What kind of wild animals can we only eat?
What type of?
Wild animals can we only eat?
All right. I would think of fishes. Maybe if you are fishing, probably you can eat on fishes that are
Wild?
yes. If maybe you can consider fishes are wild animals. Those fishes in the rivers, or maybe in the seas. Okay? Assure that the body of water where you are fishing are clean, and so they will not deposit certain harmful chemicals inside the body of the fish. Okay? Yes, please.
Thank you.
Yes, Sina?
Why no one look at my hands? Did wild animals eat meat?
Yeah. Well, certain animals will have diets that will contain also meat. Is that your question? For example, when we raise broilers, as I've said, broilers now will grow at a very faster rate. We used to have broilers that are raised for 45 days for them to produce about 1.5 kilograms in 45 days. But you can raise broilers for 26, 27, or 28 days at 1.5 kilos. And that is because we now understand the type of feed that they will require. And so in those type of feed or diet, most likely they will also contain a meat in the feed ingredients, and that is basically fish meal. So these are type of fishes that are not intended for human use, and they process the fish and then use them as feed for broiler. And of course, because they are in the same kingdom, fishes and chicken are in the same kingdom, probably the fishes are also contributing to the right amount of nutrients. Hence, the broiler will grow faster. Okay? In animal science, we do not feed the animals. For example, if you bring your pigs to the slaughterhouse, we slaughter the pigs, and then you have their slaughterhouse byproduct. These byproducts are processed and turned them into meals that are incorporated in the feeds. Okay, but as a rule, if you are going to use this slaughterhouse byproduct as a component of feeds, you should not feed it to the same species. Meaning, if these are slaughter byproduct from a swine or a pig, then probably you can use them to feed, for example, your tilapia or your bangus in your aquaculture farms. So it is not for you to feed the same species. So, okay?
Are you talking about Mandaya?
What's that?
Are you talking about Mandaya?
I'm not sure.
There's one last question.
Okay.
Does Ethan have question from
Ethan.
What is more expensive to raise a poultry or a swine?
What's the question again? Can you speak louder?
More expensive to raise.
I did not hear the question.
Which is more expensive to raise, poultry or swine?
Well, right now, it is more expensive to raise swine. You know why? Because you cannot buy piglets. Practically, most of our swine are, they are all dead because of, we heard of the African swine fever. So, it is more expensive because the piglets that you need to buy, you need to feed in order to produce about 100 kilogram of swine is very expensive. And practically, you cannot find a farm that will sell you piglets nowadays. For broilers, yes, it's cheaper to raise broiler nowadays. But again, there are challenges now because you cannot. There are also when swine farms are closed or they close their operation, they shifted to broilers. And so everyone is trying to find broilers or broiler chicks nowadays. And so it's also a bit costly to raise broilers right now, but I think it's cheaper than raising pigs.
Again, thank you for sharing your precious time with us in this STEM chat, Dr. Amado A. Angeles. We are very honored to have you as our guest speaker today, and I hope you also enjoyed chatting with us.
And to all fellow Newfielders this morning, I'm hoping that we have gained as much input as possible and we have been inspired by our guest speaker.
We will have our lunch break so you may eat your lunch and attend to your other needs.
Please be back by 1 p.m.
Thank you so much. Nice meeting you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.